Okay, now, well, Australian officials, they've dispatched 4 military search planes to check out 2 large objects picked up on satellite imagery in the Indian Ocean.
Now, this might be wreckage from Malaysian Airlines Flight 370. Operative word there, might. It is the first real lead, though, since the plane disappeared on March 8th. Back with us on the couch, aviation expert and former military pilot Justin Green and former Secret Service agent Evy Poumpouras. You know, the world has been touched by the families and this heart-wrenching video of this mother crying over her son. Let's take a look and listen to refresh. So you have these families demanding information, but Evy and Justin, you were both saying in our last hour that the reason we're seeing this kind of drama play out is the way they're releasing the information and handling the investigation. This would not happen in the States, would it?
No, the National Transportation Safety Board handles the investigations in the United States, and they're professionals about what to release and when to release it. The worst thing about not releasing information is releasing wrong information, and that is basically torturing the families.
And what have we seen this past 2 weeks? Wrong information constantly, a lot of changing, a lot of contradictions. And even just this footage that you showed of this mother crying and her agony, that would not happen here. Here there's certain protocols put in place where the victims' families are protected so that the press, there's a separation between the press and the families so that they can mourn, and something like this can't be broadcast on national television like that.
Are Malaysian officials then out of their league in handling this investigation?
They're overwhelmed. They've never dealt with anything like this before. I mean, think about it. You know, we're also comparing them to what? To us.
To
and
what
we're
we
on a
know.
completely, we operate on a completely different level. We're another animal altogether. The Malaysians never held, dealt with anything like this before. They're overwhelmed. They're feeling pressure, right? Not just by the media, but the world. Everybody's watching them. The families. So yeah, they're definitely stumbling through this. In the first week, they tried to deal with it themselves, but then as they became even more and more overwhelmed, and there was a lot of basically pressure put on them, they did what? They said, you know what, United States, help me out. Because if you think about it, who's actually doing the forensic assessment on the simulator? We are.
Yeah.
They handed it over to us. They handed us a copy, mirror image of it, but they said, could you look at this hard drive and tell us what you find? And
one of the things that you see in this investigation is not the investigators releasing information, it's the Prime Minister of Malaysia releasing information. And it'd be like if President Obama is coming out and releasing information about a crash here, that would never happen. And it's politics. They're reacting to pressure to release information quicker.
Well, okay. Australia, the Prime Minister, you have high-ranking officials releasing information there, too.
Right, that nobody knows if it's even true. I mean, there are tons of different theories. And, you know, one of which was that somebody said that passengers may have been deliberately killed by decompression. Is that even a possibility?
It's not likely. And honestly, I've seen stories that this airplane's in Iran, it's in Pakistan, it's been taken over, it's in an island somewhere.
What do you make of all of these potential outcomes?
Conspiracies. Everybody loves the conspiracy. And I mean, the whole world is watching, and it's happening live, and everybody wants to put input. Everybody is also feeling for the families, and everybody wants to solve. You know, and even, I do want to touch on this, the pilots. You know, we've actually, like, dissected the pilots, their families. Are they to blame? Are they not to blame? So we also want to be sensitive to them, because these 2 pilots could end up having nothing to do with this at all. And we put them center stage, them and their families. So it's just confusion across the board.
And a bit irresponsible, I think, at times, because to make accusations on people that you really don't know whether or not they intentionally did something, I mean, that's also walking the line there. But now, let's talk about, what does the airline know about the pilots, about their pilots specifically?
Well, I think one of the things you have to understand is pilots are the most scrutinized group of people probably in the world. Maybe Secret Service agents are more scrutinized, but beyond people like that, you have pilots who have medicals, pilots who have regular proficiency checks, pilots who every day go and work with other people. So if if you're in contact with someone else, say John starts acting loopy, you're going to notice it.
And you're going to
report it. I work with him next to him every day.
Right.
Of course.
So it's really hard to believe that somebody's going to have that you know, problem like a terrorist thought or a suicidal thought without someone picking up. But as Evy will probably tell you, they don't do psychological screening.
So exactly. So this is a concern. There is no psychological screening, no psychometric standards for any aviation pilots.
Even in our country?
Even in our country.
Nowhere.
Really?
And it's disturbing because, I mean, I went into the NYPD when I first started my career, and I had to take a psychological written exam and an oral exam, because the psychology is this: before we give you a loaded weapon and we put you out on the street, we need to know that you're mentally and emotionally stable. But yet here we have pilots, aviation pilots, who, you know, basically they're commandeering a vessel with how many souls on board, and then there is no standard for that. I think as a result of what has happened with this case, we may see some changes coming along.
I think we're going to see a lot of changes. Before we wrap up, I'm very intrigued by this flight simulator. I've heard reports that all kinds of pilots have these in their apartments. They're all kinds. They're all. Number one, is that true? And number two, why is it so important that we get that deleted information back?
Well, it is true. Pilots are, you think of pilots like Chuck Yeager, a lot of pilots are nerdy guys who have computer simulators in their house.
So something that sophisticated would be common to find in a pilot's home.
And the other thing is he didn't keep it secret. You know, everyone knew that he had the simulator, he had his friends fly the simulator, but the deleted information might be important. He doesn't need a simulator to learn how to fly this airplane. He's been flying the airplane for a long time. So the question is, did he fly certain mission profiles on that simulator? Is that contained in the missing data? That would be interesting. The fact that he had a simulator is not interesting to me.
Well, if I can just add this, as far as the simulator, everybody keeps focusing on the simulator, which is important, but you also want to look at, obviously, other computers in the house and printers.
Yeah.
Anything that has a hard drive, that's what you want. So if you go and delete certain information from your computer or from your simulator, or whatever the case may be, if you're printing something out, that stays on the hard drive of your printer as well. Even photocopiers. So we need to make sure that they did a proper forensic assessment. And another concern I had initially, because of the way this whole investigation's been going with the Malaysians, is the protocol. When you deal with anything electronic, when you're you know, seizing a computer equipment, there's a certain forensic procedure that goes into place. You can't just start unplugging stuff, turning switches on and off, because it changes.
Good things have been compromised.
It changes the integrity of the system, and also there could be viruses uploaded. So there's a methodology to it, and you never actually examine the original hard drives. They make mirror images of them, and that's what you deal with and tamper with. You never touch the original.
And, and there was a delay between when the airplane went missing and when they actually went and seized that information.
They waited several days. Again, that was such a delay. Again, unthoughtful on their part. When this happens, you want to work all the leads in tandem. You want to obviously do the search and rescue. You want to look at those two individuals with the stolen passports that we looked at last week, right? And at the same time, you want to assess the pilots, and you also want to do a forensic profile on the 239 passengers. But we didn't wait till what, 7, 8, 9 days into it to do all these things. When you do an investigation, all these things have to happen in tandem.
Oh gosh, there's so much more we could talk about. But Justin Green and Evy Poumpouras, thank you so much for joining us this morning and for sharing your expertise and your insight.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for sticking around too. This is a very compelling story. All right.